Hello and welcome to a very special Christmas royal wedding bonanza. So pop the champagne. This is The Royalty. I'm Sarah Hewson. Welcome to the second of our Royalty Christmas specials as we watch three unforgettable royal weddings spanning nearly 40 years. Joining me today, we've got some of your royalty favourites, Arthur Edwards and Emily Andrews, Rupert Bell and Christine Ross, and joining me on the Christmas sofa, Afua Hagan. Up next is the wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Let me take you back to the 19th of May 2018. The sun was unsurprisingly shining as the UK would go on to have the hottest summer on record. A crowd of 90,000 people watched Chelsea win the FA Cup final at Wembley. Meanwhile, a global audience of 1.9 billion watched the Queen's grandson marry a Hollywood actress. Harry and Meghan's wedding, that glorious May Day in Windsor. It was absolutely stunning, wasn't it? And I was there on the long walk.
Yes, as was I. Might have spied you.
We might have spied each other.
So, Arthur, are you ready? The big one. Harry and Meghan's wedding. We were there, but we were banned from the chapel. Harry didn't just ban us personally, he banned the entire royal rota until we complained, and we got press association inside the chapel, but you were outside and I was in the guards room watching everyone arrive. Actually, I was outside at this point. Loads of celebs, George and Amal, James Corden, Idris Elba. Did Harry and Meghan actually know any of these people?
Well, Oprah Winfrey, he'd never met her before, but I figured that she wanted to meet her and she did later.
And what we were really doing was spying all of these celebrities. Idris Elba, just arriving. Pippa Middleton and her husband, they're arriving. I think that's Carol Middleton and James as well.
George and the Clooney's. Her dress was incredible. I love that colour.
Stunning, wasn't it?
David Beckham and Victoria Beckham.
Now the Clooneys were interesting because apparently afterwards they were asked, well, you know, how do you know Meghan and Harry? And they said, we don't.
We're just
And
invited.
this was one of the things about this guest list. Look, some of the cast, Abigail Spencer there, some of the cast,
Suits.
Priyanka Chopra, I think that was,
James
over the
Corden.
other side. James Corden and his wife
everywhere.
Jules.
He will turn up to the opening of an envelope, honestly.
And James Corden, of course, then went on to do that open-top bus tour interview with Prince Harry. David and Samantha Cameron.
You had Elton John was there as well.
And Elton John, of course, performed Chelsea Davy, Harry's
That's a bit of a shocker.
ex-girlfriend.
No, did you invite any of your exes to your wedding?
No.
No, neither did I to any of my weddings. Honestly.
And this was probably the most celebrity-attended royal wedding.
Oh, that's Oprah.
That is Oprah.
I don't think she'd be smiling quite now, given what's happened since.
Well, she's made a lot of money off of it.
Is all the royals arrive by bus?
Oh yes, of course they do.
If you're not in the principal group arriving in the carriage processions, for example, you come by bus.
Yeah, and you have to walk.
It's kind of quite grounding, really, isn't it?
And you have to walk down the long walk. And I don't know if you remember, it was absolutely boiling that day.
It was really hot. I remember thinking I chose the wrong dress.
Yes.
Tell you what, this wedding, when I look back on this wedding now, I don't list it as a royal wedding really for me because we were treated miserably.
It is funny, you see all the long sleeves and the suits, of course, but it was such a hot day. I mean, it was baking hot.
Where were you?
I sort of scheduled my day where I spent the wedding service on the long walk, sort of amongst the crowds, which was an amazing experience. Everyone had quite a lot of Pims and was celebrating and dancing, and it was really, really just such a joyful day. And then I walked all the way over to the river to do some work, and I was sunburnt by the time I got there.
I spent it in a pub in Windsor with Steph and Dom on talk radio, watching it on a very bad TV. Budgets have improved, and I couldn't really see anything. But I'd walked from the hotel because you couldn't get anywhere.
No.
But luckily it was radio, and we would. And basically, Steph and Dom. There seemed to be quite a lot of rosé on hand. That's what I remember most.
Everyone was drinking a lot that day.
And Steph and Dom were quite good fun.
Serena and Idris Elba.
This is the Wire. From the Wire. Yeah.
Here's the choir right at the top of St George's Chapel, where the royals on Harry's side and the celebs on Meghan's side were.
Well, let me tell you something about there's more. Pity there wasn't more of a family there. Weddings are about families, and from my view, and we have. Both families were invited. Well, the only person that turned up was her mother, but people turned up. She invited people she probably only met once before, or because they were famous. And to me, that's superficial.
Where do you stand on grey morning suits?
I think that George Clooney's an American, and that's why he thinks he can get away with it.
Well, the King wears one too, you see. So
well, I mean, he has such impeccable style. The King is actually a real fashion icon, I think.
And this moment was incredible to see these two brothers walking down the long walk, giving us a wave. I felt like Harry actually waved particularly just to me at that
It was
point.
you.
It was
definitely
me.
you.
Yeah, and I waved back.
Both in their military uniform, the
Yeah.
uniforms of the Blues and Royals.
And it was so nice just to see them sort of strolling towards the church. It was a bit of a surprise actually. I wasn't expecting to see it. I don't know about you.
And the day before, they'd come out in Windsor and they'd
did a bit of a
greeted the crowds there.
walkabout,
They'd done a bit of a walkabout.
A real sense of, right, this could be an exciting time.
Yeah,
And I remember
this was an
saying it
exciting
on air,
time.
this is a really seminal moment
Yes,
for the royal family.
it really was a golden era for the royal family. I mean, everyone was so excited for Meghan and Harry, for the roles they were going to undertake, for the amount of change that they could, bring about.
And then the flowers lining the steps there of St George's Chapel at Windsor, absolutely stunning.
And of course, accompanying the two boys was Prince Harry's beard.
Yes, now
Which-
this was another controversy in
Yes.
the run-up to this wedding. Was he going to have to shave off his beard?
Yeah.
And we know now from Spare that this really was
A
an
bone of-
issue
a real
within
bone
the
of
family.
contention,
And he had
yes.
to ask his grandmother, the Queen, for permission to maintain the beard. In military uniform, shouldn't have a beard.
No,
we're told.
not allowed to have one. But I think he would have looked weird without it.
And that was his argument, that Meghan
Wouldn't
has
have
only seen
recognised
him
him.
with a beard.
But can you imagine? So he walked up without his beard. Would she have gone, "Excuse me, who are you?
Who are you?
Don't recognise you. Where's Has?" Do you think she would have done that? Can you imagine?
William apparently, according to Harry in Spare, was a bit put out
Yes.
about this because he'd had to shave, so why would Harry be able to have a beard, and it wasn't the
Boys,
done thing. But here they are, the brothers there.
Oh, here's Harry and William.
Yeah, this is them walking down. They've
in
got this-
Windsor Castle, walking down from the upper part of the
well,
castle.
that's the picture I got, but everything else was just a waste of time. And he didn't even walk past us. He walked away from
well,
us.
Harry, at this point, hindsight is a wonderful thing. But I mean, I think definitely reporting on them at the time, we knew that Harry was really not very happy with the British press. And his wedding was kind of payback to us. He didn't want us anywhere there. He didn't even, well, what was sad, he didn't even come and say hello to any of the crowd, which I thought was a shame.
It was such an exciting day. Everyone was really, really happy to be there.
Well, that's the thing, the crowds were enormous.
It was incredible,
And
really.
just what you talked about, you were walking through the streets of Windsor. I couldn't believe it.
It
And everyone
was-
had a happy face. The weather was magnificent, and everything looked in the rosy garden was rosy. It was
Absolutely.
fantastic.
Everyone was so happy. Here's the groom. It was so joyful. I was in Windsor the day before when Prince William and Prince Harry did their walkabout to meet the crowds. There's quite a great photo of me looking absolutely because I was delighted because everyone was delighted. It was so exciting, and I think my favorite part of these events is always sort of the old ladies who have come with roses from their gardens to bring to the...
As an American, were you wearing your, I know you were working, were you having your tourist hat on or your business hat on?
It was very business. It was very business. I had been a few times, so this wasn't really new to me, but I think seeing it from an outsider's perspective, seeing how much joy they can bring.
And I'll tell you what, it's a very hot day, that what they're wearing
Baking.
is baking.
It must have
because
been
that dress uniform is hot.
But of course, we now know that all was not well behind the scenes with Harry and Meghan and the royal family, but it was a very, very happy day. And I do love Meghan's wedding
Might
dress.
be happy for you, it wasn't happy for me.
But you see, look at them looking happy together.
Yes.
Little did we realise
yes.
there was all sorts of subplots going on behind the scenes. But there, all put aside, everyone's... Do we know who that is?
No.
Doria,
Yes.
Meghan's mum as
And
well.
I mean, on her own, walking into St George's Chapel, and the only representative of Meghan's family
Yeah.
to be attending that wedding.
It must have been really nerve-wracking actually for her.
Yeah.
Such a huge occasion, and to have no backup, as it were.
Yeah,
And
the
the
Queen
Queen.
and the Duke of Edinburgh on this beautiful day. And here we've got the bridesmaids and page boys
Yes.
arriving. I think there were 10 of them
Yeah.
in total, 4 pages and 6 bridesmaids, or have I
Yeah.
got it the other way round? Yeah, that's right.
And a real mix of people. You had her best friend, rumoured to be maid of honour, but wasn't in the end, Jessica Mulroney, her children.
Ex-best friend.
Oh, yes,
They're
you're
no longer
right.
speaking, are they?
And of course, Princess Charlotte, and Kate's other children.
Yeah, so it was Harry and Meghan's godchildren,
Yes.
their best friend's children, and of course their niece and nephew,
Yep.
Charlotte and George. And you can see Kate there, only recently given birth to Prince Louis.
Yes.
And then she's walking up the steps with 2 of the little bridesmaids, including Charlotte.
Yeah.
And there's the only guest she had from her family, which is her mother.
That was interesting, because I think Meghan obviously was someone who, you know, first mixed race royal. This was a huge thing for the royal family, a very positive thing. She and Harry were reflecting 21st century Britain. There's many, you know, mixed race marriages and cultural, you know, divides coming together in wedding ceremonies up and down the UK. And I thought it was an interesting decision for Meghan only to invite Doria. You know, Doria had many siblings, and in fact, I think Meghan was close, I think, to Doria's family, and I thought it was strange that no other member of the Raglan family should be invited.
William and Harry do look so happy. I think it was really lovely that Harry supported Prince William at his wedding, and now Prince William supporting his brother at his wedding.
And they were close, and they were all close.
Really, really sad when you see
sad.
how strained those relations with the family
I mean, absolutely
now are.
non-existent, aren't they?
And I remember the atmosphere on the day. There was this real sense of hope and
Yeah.
optimism. This
Definitely.
bright, intelligent, independent, successful young woman coming into the royal family. Prince Harry had been looking for the right woman
Yeah.
to become his bride.
Yeah.
And finally he had met his match and he had found her.
Yeah.
And in Meghan, he had found someone where previous girlfriends, Cressida Bonas,
Chelsea
Davy, had struggled with the attention and the scrutiny that came with being Prince Harry's girlfriend. There was a feeling that Meghan would be able to hold her own.
that she-
and
she
boy,
could
could
handle
she
it.
bring a lot to the royal family and modernise this family.
Absolutely. For her blue, Meghan had a piece of the dress that she wore on her first date with Harry sewed into the veil, and that the dress was blue, and she had a bit of that fabric sewn into a veil. And she also had a piece of Princess Diana's dress, the dress by the Emmanuels, sewn into her dress as well for her borrowed.
But yeah, see these these bridesmaids, in America we call them flower girls, but the bridesmaids are just
Call them
so
what?
darling. We call them flower girls.
Flower girls.
They carry the flowers.
Oh, right. hadn't heard that. It's always good to learn something new. Flower girl, right. Okay, the dress.
Here is Meghan stepping out of the car in a gown by Claire Waite-Keller for Givenchy, which is very sleek silhouette. It's a style that Meghan's worn before, since, that we've now turned into a wedding gown. It's truly a historic gown. My favorite part of this is really the veil, which is of course embroidered with flowers from around the Commonwealth and from her hometown in California, or her home of California.
Have you got to have a strong neck when you're putting? Have you ever, when you got married, did you have a train like that?
I did have a very long veil. I did, yes. I don't remember it being very heavy, but it wasn't quite as long.
And on the veil, embroidered the flowers of the Commonwealth nations, and 2 extra ones. Meadowsweet, which was growing in their garden at Nottingham Cottage at Kensington Palace, and also the California poppy, California, her home state.
Yeah. All the flowers of the Commonwealth embroidered on her veil. I thought that was lovely.
Well, you know, that might be lovely for you, Emma. I thought it was. I couldn't tell you. I didn't care if I
Come on, Arthur. Come on, I'm going to give you an mince. Come on, it's Christmas. Have a mince pie. Have a mince pie. Come on.
Merry Christmas.
Come on, Merry Christmas. Come on, let's have some cheese.
Yeah.
Let's have some cheese.
I'm not having cheese and mince pies.
Cheese,
No, thanks.
mince pies. Come on.
You see, this is the moment, because we know that she did, obviously, there's all the backstory about her father. There she is walking centre stage. She, if you think about it, has never and will never have an audience like that watching her.
Oh no,
that
this
was
yeah.
her big, big moment. You're walking there, breaking tradition almost. There's no one accompanying her, walking into the church to meet her about to be father-in-law.
Yes.
It's extraordinary. And then you think, where do you go from there? I mean, I don't know how many people watched it worldwide, but it would have been in, or photographed. There is that first bit, then meeting the king. And again, you think, what's gone wrong? I mean, you can't put it any other way, can you? And say, this looks like a family trying to get on and work it. It looks fantastic. And then you think, we've had all this other stuff since. It just, there's a tinge of sadness when you watch this.
Isn't Meghan gorgeous? It's a shame her dad
Well, she is
didn't come.
good. And you know what? When you think our king, King Charles,
He
walked the bride
her
down the aisle.
halfway, he walked her into the choir.
Yeah, but now I look back on it and I realise that bit she walked down on her own. You know, Miss, look at me, I'm, you know,
Miss Independent.
And then, of course, halfway down, and every time I've been to a wedding, the person who gives her away gets out the car with her and walks her down the aisle. But not her. Meghan had it her way. At the time, I didn't know about anything of it.
Okay, there am I. George wearing his grey morning suit, and there's the king wearing his grey morning suit. So what do I know?
I suppose it is an acceptable fashion choice if the king is pulling it off.
He's even when he goes to Royal Ascot and places, he's always been a grey morning suit.
I think he's allowed though. He can get away with it.
Well, actually, Edward, the reason you wear waistcoats is all because of Edward VII, and you don't button them up.
Is that right?
Because he had a big stomach and he couldn't do it up. And that, because he did it, everyone else did it.
That's fabulous.
So the king dictates fashion.
And we now look at it,
Yeah.
having read Spare, having seen the couple's accounts in the Netflix documentary, and we know, look, we're looking at the tiara. Let's talk about the tiara, for example, because that now we know was an issue in the run-up to the wedding, because Diana's sisters had offered one of the Spencer family tiaras, and then the Queen, as Harry describes it, stepped in and said, would you like one of mine?
Yeah.
And the Queen Mary bandeau tiara that Meghan borrowed or was lent by the late Queen. There was a bit of a kerfuffle about the tiara, wasn't there?
I heard about that, yeah.
Yes.
But there was a row, supposedly, over getting access
to the tiaras, to the jewellers that would allow them to be able to view the tiaras. Apparently there was an argument in which allegedly, it may or may not have happened, where Harry said, what Meghan wants, Meghan gets.
They had a lovely time picking the tiara, but then of course Meghan wanted to borrow it so that her hairdresser could practice. But I think it's not the done thing. These are multi-million pound priceless heirlooms. You can't just borrow it just because your hairdresser's flown over from Paris. And she got Harry, I think this was part of the problem. Harry got very difficult about it and said, Meghan needs the tiara now.
What Meghan
Meghan wants, Meghan gets.
Yeah.
So yes, even before the wedding, there was some hiccups, shall we say, but she did look beautiful.
Yeah.
His version is that Angela Kelly, the Queen's dresser, was being deliberately obstructive and not allowing her to practice with the tiara.
But it was everything. I mean, while watching it trying to watch it on the screen, as Steph and Dom attacked another bottle of rosé, and I wasn't far behind, trying to hear the music and just feel it. You could sort of, everyone around, you could sense the joy even if you were outside. But the one thing we can do is we can stage things like this.
The Brits don't, no one does it better than the British people. This pomp and pageantry and this level of ceremony and celebration.
We mentioned Diana's sisters, Lady Jane Fellows. They're doing the reading in the ceremony, very much bringing in Diana into this service and the Spencer family.
And actually, I think it was one of Diana's favourite hymns was sung at the wedding, and it was one of the hymns that was actually sung at her funeral. And you can see Prince Harry tearing up when that particular hymn is sung.
This was sort of a second fairy tale, you know, if William and Kate, or maybe a third if you count Charles and Diana, if William and Kate were our first 21st century fairy tale, this was the second. And everyone wanted it to be happily ever after.
Because I think they wanted him to be happy.
Yes.
And they felt, you know, obviously we'd seen shots of Chelsea a little bit earlier, the ex-girlfriends, but then he finds somebody who clearly changed him dramatically from the moment he first met her.
Look, I can tell you the first 18 months, I thought Meghan was fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I worked with her, I did all those visits to Morocco, all those, you know, and she was putting in a great performance. I must say it was. I mean, she was very convincing. She did the right things. She greeted the people, but, you know, I always felt now that she had this plan all along to move back to America.
Some of the other issues we now know about, the bridesmaid dresses and the row between Kate and Meghan.
Who made who cry.
Who made who cry.
Yeah.
Before the wedding, over the fitting of the bridesmaids' dresses.
But weddings are so fraught, aren't they?
And this one particularly so, wasn't it? Because Thomas Markle had staged paparazzi photographs.
Sold his soul to the devil a few times over, quite frankly, and made life incredibly difficult for Meghan. And, you know, to know that her father, I mean...
He was in hospital at this point, wasn't he?
Yeah, but just... literally was kind of doing everything to not be there, and for the only person in her family to be there, to be her mother, and of course she had friends in the audience, but it's not the same, is it, as having someone who's really on your side, walking you down the aisle.
I mean,
well, I'm going to put the other side of the coin there, Arthur. I'm going to say, wasn't this a missed opportunity for the royal family? Here you have the first mixed race royal. They've got, you know,
what does that matter? I don't think it matters.
I think it matters because I think it
doesn't matter to me. It never matters to me. That doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, but what about the millions of Brits who are mixed race or who have got mixed race relations, who are married? It's suddenly, Arthur, you've got someone who looks like them in the midst of the royal family, and I think it's really important.
I don't think that matters a damn. I don't even think.
You don't think it matters that the royal family should look like just like you and me, but like everybody?
I don't think that matters. I think whatever he wants to marry, let him marry. I don't care what he marries, what colour she is. That doesn't matter. It's not important. It's the quality of the person, I think. And you know, I was convinced. I thought she was wonderful. I really did. I thought she was, but I think it was an act. I really do.
There's so much excitement in America. I think we Americans really love Kate, and I think to have an American princess, it was every Hallmark Christmas movie come to life. You know, it was a real dream fairy tale story. And
Don't
Meghan,
tell me you watch those interminable Christmas movies that are on other channels.
Of course not.
Only
a few of them.
The princess in the castle.
They're all very diverse in that each one is a different made-up European country, but all with an English accent. Yeah. All of them have English accents, even though it's various sort of, you know, Bavarian countries. But
Ruritania.
Yeah. they'll just make Genovia. No, that's the Princess Diaries. But everyone wanted an American princess. I mean, it was a dream come true.
And the Americans who'd come, all I could hear, I remember just hearing a sort of wall of American voices.
Yes. I think we heard that during the coronation as well, but during the royal wedding, you would walk past crowds of people and it would just be American accents all over the place, because the amount of tourism that this wedding generated of people coming over for the wedding was incredible. It was huge. And I think Americans, we don't have a royal family. Our political system, especially at this time, was really, really tumultuous. And the fact that our president changes every 4 to 8 years means that we don't get
slightly better than us. We change a prime
that's
minister every
true.
6 weeks, don't we?
You know,
I liked her when I met her. I've got to say, I did like her when I met her. She's very charming, very tiny, and she was lovely. I think she was quite nervous about meeting us, as you would with journos.
No.
Do you think...
I was told it wasn't her, it was Harry didn't want her to meet us.
It wasn't, it was Harry that didn't want... Yeah, no, it was. Harry didn't.
He didn't want her to meet her, you know, that's the thing.
I think there's a lot. I think there was a lot at play. I think inevitably when they got married, he would be thinking about his own mother, about the fact that she wasn't able to be there.
You know, I love to think those things, but I don't.
Don't tell me that in your household you have a Meghan and Harry tea towel or a mug. Do you? Come on. Have you?
We don't actually. Well, I do have a few coronation bits lying around, but because we moved about 2 years ago and couldn't bring much with us, so all of my special things are in my mum's house in America.
So if I go into your mother's house in Virginia, I will find a Meghan and Harry tea towel.
You'll find some really interesting things. I think there's a big box that says "Do not open."
So you've fallen for it.
I don't know. I think I have fallen for it, but I think as so many of us have, there's a great deal of tradition, but also we've talked about it. There's just happiness. The royal family brings a lot of joy to people, and I think buying into that, your sort of celebratory mugs and tea towels, it's a fun thing to take part in. I do love a boys' choir. You don't.
Well,
you don't
I used to play cricket against St George's Boys' School.
Really?
Back in the day, and playing cricket in front of the Windsor Castle because my prep school was just round the corner. Mm-hmm. We used to beat them because they seemed to be better singers.
Were they better?
Than sports people.
I did love the fact that this was such a multicultural service,
So
Arthur. There was the live music was lovely. You know, Charles had a huge amount to do with that. I think, chatting with Meghan and Harry. Got Bishop Curry here from America. I mean, I think the late Queen was a bit like, who is this chap? He did go on a bit, didn't he?
Yeah, but I thought that was good too. I thought that was excellent. I thought it was really good.
Zara Tindall, very heavily pregnant, thinking, please don't let me go into labour before he finishes.
Here we go.
Tiara. And
Here we go. The spirit moved him.
Enthusiastic sermon. The spirit did, yes. I mean, the reactions, I think this is the best part of the whole wedding, is watching the royal family's reactions to this very American sermon.
I was always told 8 minutes maximum.
Yes.
Right? 8 minutes, because you can just keep people on side.
Yes.
But I definitely think the Bishop of Chicago, I think it was, he got moved.
We're just watching Bishop Michael Curry from the Episcopalian, can I say that? Episcopalian Church in the United States, giving this fabulous, fiery sermon, and the reactions from those in the church.
I mean, to have a Black American preacher give, and it's like a real firebrand sermon, right? And of course you have the Kingdom Choir here, and this incredible choir who performed gospel songs. And if you are Church of England, you are not used to this level of joy when it comes to religion, right? So there was some great crowd reactions there to people just being like, what the heck is going on? I loved it.
The enthusiasm of the occasion. Look at him. I mean, you wouldn't see the Archbishop of Canterbury do that.
I mean,
his spirit may move, but never in such an open way. But full play, fair play.
Yes,
I don't know what the Duke of Edinburgh thought of it at the time.
I would love to know. Maybe one day a letter will be revealed and we can find out the truth.
When love is the way. Imagine this tired old world when love is the way. When love is the way, unselfish, sacrificial, redemptive. When love is the way, then no child will go to bed hungry in this world ever again.
Zara Tindall's face is a great meme on the internet.
Was she there looking slightly wide-eyed?
Yes,
Because
she's
the one thing about
slightly-
Zara, she wears her heart on her sleeve.
She does.
So she would have been going, ooh, and taking. She would not be. There wouldn't necessarily be. I love her to bits. There wouldn't necessarily be a complete filter at that moment, because you would have thought there was script. You know, the sermon is scripted.
It really was this sermon about the power of love, and not just romantic love between a couple, but love, the power of love to heal, to cross divides,
to bring people together. And actually, I think maybe at the time that's what they felt that they were doing, because I mean, there were two people from you know, opposites, British aristocracy, a Hollywood actress coming together. And let's not forget, excuse me, that of course Meghan is of African American descent as well, and there was this feeling that they were, you know, crossing divides and coming together for racial harmony and all that, and which is obviously not really panned out like that.
You know,
Oh, the Kingdom Choir. The Kingdom Choir, that was lovely.
Well,
That was Charles's idea. Everyone thinks that it was Meghan because it's a black gospel choir, but no, that was Charles's idea. So any suggestion that Charles is not a supporter of multiculturalism is not right.
That's absolutely right.
That cellist, I can't remember his name, but he absolutely nailed it. And I think it was a few years ago, but he was quite young, but he got a lot of terrific publicity. It's a very good shot window if you can, you know, a bit of cello, making cello sexy.
And it has to be said, on this day, it was the FA Cup final. Now, Prince William, president of the FA, missed the FA Cup final, usually is there, usually hands out the trophy, I think, to the winner as well, and missed it for his brother's wedding.
Just imagine the headlines if he hadn't.
Awful.
Elton John and David Furnish, his husband. Now, Elton was chosen to perform at the lunchtime reception afterwards, wasn't he? Very close to Harry and Meghan. We know now that when things were getting tough for them, they went to stay in the south of France with him and David. And he performed in the Great Hall at Windsor.
I think it was,
where they had their reception. I think he performed Tiny Dancer, among
Oh,
others.
that
A
song.
mini concert there for
Can you
those.
imagine just Elton John just playing at your wedding?
Just like that.
Just like that.
David Beckham looking gorgeous.
He goes through everything now, David Beckham, doesn't he? Hey,
Well, he still wants that knighthood, Arthur.
Well,
He's
yeah.
still after that knighthood. Talking of which,
Yeah.
look at these. Look at these. We've got a little corgi.
Yeah.
Can I interest you in some Regal sausage rolls?
They by royal appointment.
By royal appointment.
Oh,
By
right.
royal appointment.
Can you give me a napkin over
Oh,
there,
okay,
please,
napkin,
Anne? Yeah, thank you.
Here we go. Here we go. There you go. I might have one. Shall I save one for later? You got your mince
I'm
pie.
not going to have it now. I'm going to
You're gonna save it for later?
Yeah.
Oh, and it looks spectacular. I mean,
They tell you why
utterly
it looks spectacular,
spectacular.
Sarah, because they spent £2.2 million cleaning it up beforehand.
cleaning the streets, moving homeless people.
I was just about to say that there was
off the
complaints that they
streets.
just kind of swept up everyone, all the rubbish, and sort of got rid of them for this occasion, and then they put back out 2 days later. It's a bit of a shame.
There's one image that stayed in my mind after this wedding, and it was when they came out after their reception, their lunchtime reception, and Meghan had changed into her second dress, the Halton X Stella
Loved
McCartney
that
dress.
Loved that dress.
And they get into the Aston Martin and they drive through Windsor Great Park, and they're heading to Frogmore House where they're going to have their evening reception. And all of the helicopters were up. And these images were like something out of a James Bond movie.
Harry is, I can't tell you, I wished he was still a member of the royal family, because he was somebody. He was somebody. Here, now lives in a city, just another celebrity in a place full of celebrities. Here he was someone special.
But he didn't want it, Arthur. He didn't want it. I think we have to allow
He
him
only
agency.
didn't want it when he met her. He up to then. I know. Listen, I tell you, he was everything. He was involved in the rugby. He was having a great life. He was He was.
I think he was lonely.
Got Blues and Royals and Lifeguards. Those are those two soldiers.
And now this sort of surprise kiss. Now historically, that first kiss was on the balcony, and now we have it outside the church. Really charming. Everyone cheered and
that's
oohed
quite
and
normal now.
awed.
If you go to every wedding now.
Well, now if you go to every, yes, a normal wedding, but not a royal wedding. It's a royal wedding.
But you're expected to kiss at some
You
stage.
still can't show shoulders in church at royal when you're a royal.
Well, they're not showing shoulders.
Well, you should have a. I'm saying that they can't show their shoulders in church, but if you were a normal bride, you could wear a strapless gown, and the standards are different.
Ooh. Standards are different. Back in my day.
And there's the kiss.
No. And they do look so happy, don't they?
They really,
and
really do.
Even now when you see them at the back, they still look really happy. Yeah. But again, so hopeful, weren't we?
We really, really were.
Really were.
And into the open top state landau.
Again, it was absolutely boiling.
It was really,
really hot.
The crowds had been waiting for many hours.
Yeah.
Some were quite well lubricated along the long walk.
Us that were working, we're not yet.
As the couple made their way, and they did a carriage procession through out of the grads. Oh, there's little Charlotte with her wave. This carriage
she did well with that
procession
wave.
out of the grounds of Windsor Castle, through the town of Windsor Castle, up the long walk and back into the castle for their reception.
Lovely. It was absolutely lovely.
We've seen some great occasions there. Obviously the funeral of the Queen when it took there. I mean, it is a splendid backdrop. And then we had obviously the Duke of Edinburgh's funeral in there, but it's so lovely to see it just teeming with people.
Yes, people,
and everyone's
happy
celebrating.
People, yes.
And look at the King, he looks really happy for his son.
Yes, it was just, we've said it, but it's such a happy occasion.
Getting a train into a horse and carriage.
I can't imagine. And having
what did
to
you
do
go
it
away with?
on television? My husband had a Jeep. He's quite outdoorsy, so he had a Jeep, and we went away in his muddy Jeep and drove off into the
into the British countryside. But I mean, that takes, it's okay. Luckily, they've got plenty of foot.
Yes, I mean, to have not just to get it into the carriage, but to do it elegantly on television with not too much support. I mean, I imagine it was a bit of a challenge. The camera probably panned back for a reason.
Should we do a toast to the happy couple?
Well, you can have to say it. I couldn't possibly. I couldn't possibly.
To Harry and Meghan. To Harry and Meghan.
Yeah, all right. If you say so, Em.
But this was lovely. They're holding hands. This carriage ride through Windsor was
Where were you then?
Really special. I was still on the long walk. So we did see them go past. I think I have a very brief video because actually it looks very slow but it was so fast when they actually came by you. It was a split second that you could actually see.
I think it's time to toast them now they got married. But it was so swelteringly hot. I think we were into case number 2 of the rosé by then.
But yes, I would have been just here on the long walk.
What a spot.
It wasn't too bad, but it was very hot, and they went by very quickly, and so there wasn't too much to see. I think the real benefit to being there was just the atmosphere, the girlfriends dancing around, and there was lots and lots of people. There was probably lots of Pims because we were just outside a Pims truck, a food truck. So.
What do you
Well,
like?
I tell you what I like. I like the fact that he was finally married. He always wanted to get married.
He did. He always wanted kids.
Yeah, and but I loved working with Harry. I thought he was he was fun to work with. I did tour after tour with him. I went all around the world with him, and he was brilliant. And he always gave us great pictures. And he said, I try every day to help you guys.
Yeah, it was such a beautiful day. I think if we had lots of Pims and you had lots of rosé, how do we remember any of it?
Well, the trouble is I then had a 4-mile walk back to my car.
Stumbling.
And by the time I got to my car, I'd sweated out the rosé, which is not a very good look. But I just remember getting in the car and thinking, wow, I'm glad I was there.
It was such a happy day.
And little did I realise that what came out of that has just not been quite what anyone would have expected. But when you look at those pictures, you realise that was a good day.
It was a good day.
But do you know what, Arthur? He's happy. He is happy. Every person, everyone that
Well, I
I've
don't
spoken
see if
to,
he's happy.
he is
If he's happy, I don't see it in the pictures of him.
I
He always
remember-
looks so miserable in the
I
pictures.
remember talking to him. I think we were in Chile, and I remember talking to him about Prince George, and I think George had just been born. And he was so happy to be an uncle, and he was saying that George looked like Winston Churchill, like a mini Winston Churchill. And he popped round to see William and Kate a lot. You know, he went to go
They
play
lived next
with
door
the
to
kids.
each other, didn't
Yeah,
they? The kids
and-
went in there and played with him.
And he really wanted to have children. So I'm sure being a father, I mean, he's spoken about what a life-changing experience it is. And so it was, I think, very a happy day for him.
Are those mince pies?
Yeah, which isn't this a lovely spread?
Oh, look. Which one? Oh,
What do you want?
that one.
The star
No,
one.
just give me that. Doesn't matter. It's only TV. Oh, thank you. A mince pie. I'm afraid I love a mince pie. Do you make your own mince pie?
I do make my own mince pies, actually. I do it with like a flaky puff pastry and fill it with mincemeat.
Would
It's
you know what
really
my mother,
nice.
not my mother, my wife, oh, hello, Freudian slip there. I know what my wife says about a Christmas pudding. It's basically you get given one, and then you take it round next year to give to a friend, because Americans don't eat Christmas puddings. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Yes, no, we don't eat Christmas puddings. I do like that you light it on fire, though. That's very exciting. So I let my mother-in-law light it on fire, and then she enjoys it basically all to herself. But we do enjoy mince pies. We start them pretty early in the season.
Brandy butter or brandy cream?
Brandy cream. You can get it extra thick, almost like a clotted cream, but with Baileys in it now.
You have to make your own.
It's extra work. Buy it from
Okay,
Waitrose.
you've got two small children, so you've got a lot going on.
Yes.
So, but I'm going to have a mouthful of this lovingly presented mince pie. Thank you, Christine.
So, Arthur, we've done Harry and Meghan. I'm going to ring the bell. Look at this. And all that remains me to say is Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Mwah. Mwah.
Okay.
So that was Harry and Meghan's wedding. It's funny to think, though, isn't it? We're looking back on that as a little piece of history, and actually, it was only 5.5 years ago.
Literally.
And
So much has happened.
changed.
It's like a lifetime ago. But what a cracker it was.
I know you're going to win it. Oh, I got it!
I always forget that
Okay.
happens.
I haven't got a joke. That is all we've got time for. We hope you've enjoyed that trip down memory lane, but don't miss episode 3 when we're going to be going further back in time for the marriage of Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer. Wherever you are, wishing you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.